The last chance for love, Nira sat alone inside a clear glass pod, hugging her knees to her chest. The cold air in the transport ship made her skin shiver. Around her were other aliens, taller, stronger, and more confident. No one looked at her. No one talked to her. She was used to that. Nira was born on the moon of Velthara, where beauty and size meant everything, but she was tiny, weak, and born during an eclipse, considered bad luck. The males of her kind rejected her during the bonding ceremonies. All of them. Not once, but 5 times in 5 cycles. She's too small. She's not fertile. She'll bring bad luck. Even her own parents gave up. They sent her to the galactic rejection program, where unwanted alien females were traded or sold. The ship docked at a new planet station. The walls were metal and dull. Red warning lights blinked softly. Nira looked down, afraid. Her tail curled around her waist like a blanket. She whispered to herself, "Maybe I won't feel anything this time. Maybe it'll just end." But the room she entered was different. The aliens stood tall, talking loudly. They showed off the rejected females like objects. "This one's smart. This one sings. This one glows." Nira didn't glow. She didn't sing. She just stood in the back corner, quiet and alone. Suddenly the door slid open. A strange figure entered. He was tall, broad, and completely different. A human. He wore dark travel gear and boots covered in red Martian dust. His brown eyes scanned the room with calm curiosity. He didn't look cruel. He didn't look rich either. Some of the aliens laughed. "Why is a human here? They don't even bond with our kind. Just looking for spare tech, probably." The human ignored them. He kept walking slowly until he reached the last pod. Nira. She looked up at him, startled. She had never seen a human up close before. His face was gentle, but firm. He knelt, down, looked through the glass, and softly asked, "Why is she shaking?" The handler shrugged. "That one? Rejected by her whole race. No skills, no bond partners. Useless." The human stared at her for a long moment. Nira's ears twitched. Was he going to walk away too? But then he said something that shocked everyone. "I'll take her." The room went silent. "Wait. What?" said the handler. "You want that one?" The human nodded. "Yes, her. But she's been returned 5 times. I don't care." Nira couldn't move. She couldn't speak. Her tiny hands trembled. The door opened. The human stepped inside. He offered her a small gray blanket and extended his hand. "Come on," he said. "Let's get out of here." She didn't understand why. She didn't understand him, but something inside her chest felt warm. Warm for the first time in years. She reached out and touched his hand. They walked through the ship corridors, slowly. Nira stayed behind him, looking around like a scared animal. But the human kept checking back at her. "My name's Jacob," he said. "What's yours?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Nira." He smiled. "That's a nice name." Her chest glowed faintly for a second. She blinked, confused. That had never happened before, not once in her life. Later, inside his old Earth ship called Raven, Jacob gave her a seat, a warm drink, and a simple meal. Nira watched him carefully. He didn't touch her. He didn't ask strange things. He just sat nearby and fixed a small, broken drone. "Why?" she finally asked. Jacob looked at her. "Why what?" "Why, choose me." He paused for a moment, then said, "Because no one else did. And because you looked like you needed someone who wouldn't walk away." Her eyes widened. Her chest glowed again, brighter this time. Jacob raised an eyebrow. "That's new." She touched her chest. "I've never done that before." He chuckled gently. "Then I guess it means something." For the first time in her life, Nira fell asleep feeling safe. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. She didn't know what humans truly were. But she knew one thing: this was her last chance for love. And maybe, just maybe, it had already begun. The human's strange decision. When Nira woke up, she thought it had all been a dream. The warm blanket, the gentle voice, the strange human who didn't push her away. But when her eyes opened, she was still inside the cozy room of a ship. His ship. The ceiling lights glowed soft yellow. The walls were full of strange earth tools, parts, and wires. And sitting near the corner, fixing a broken communicator, was Jacob, the human who had chosen her. "Good morning, Nira," he said with a soft smile, not looking up from his work. Nira sat up slowly. She touched her arm. No bruises, no pain, no cuffs. She was truly free, but also confused. "Why are you kind to me?" she asked shyly. Jacob looked at her now. "Because you deserve kindness, everyone does." She didn't know what to say to that. Back in the marketplace where Jacob had taken Nira, the alien handlers were laughing. "That human is insane. He paid full credits for a broken female. She won't survive a single week with him." But one of them, an old merchant who had been on many planets, said something different. "Humans, they see value in strange places. That girl may glow more in his care than she ever did in ours." Later that day, Jacob showed her around his ship, the Earthship Raven. It was old and dented but clean. One hallway led to the engine room, another to the cockpit. Nira walked softly beside him, clutching her blanket like armor. "What do you do?" she asked. Jacob scratched his head. "I was a medic during the Martian War. Now I just travel, fix things, trade, help where I can." "Why would someone like you choose someone like me?" Jacob stopped walking. He looked her in the eyes and said, "Because when I saw you, something felt right. Like you weren't supposed to be in that cage." Nira's heart jumped. She didn't understand it. But her chest gave a small glow again. She quickly turned away. "It's nothing. Just my skin reacting to air." But Jacob smiled. He knew she was lying. And he didn't mind. That night, a small storm hit outside the space station where Raven was docked. Wind and thunder rattled the hull. Nira couldn't sleep. Every boom made her ears twitch. She walked out into the hallway, barefoot, quietly. She found Jacob in the control room, watching the storm on a screen. "I can't sleep," she whispered. Jacob looked at her gently. "Storms scare you?" "Not storms, just being alone." He nodded and patted the bench beside him. "Then don't be alone." She sat beside him, awkwardly close. Her head slowly leaned on his shoulder. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, a soft whisper from her lips. "I've never sat this close to someone before." Without being told to move. Jacob didn't move. He just said, "Then let this be your first time." In the next few days, Nira began to explore more. She helped clean a few small corners. She asked Jacob questions about humans, how they bond, how they eat, how they laugh. She had never laughed before. But one day, while watching him struggle with a stuck jar lid, she giggled softly. Jacob froze. "Did you just laugh?" She turned red. "No," sounded like one to me. That night she laughed again, this time louder. When Jacob dropped a spoonful of spicy food and started coughing like he'd eaten fire. She even offered him water, still smiling. The Raven was no longer just a ship. For her, it was slowly becoming home. But far away across the stars, someone had noticed. A transmission from the rejection program was sent to the Velthara Royal Genetic Council. Subject Nira 35 has shown unusual biological glow responses in the presence of a human. Suggest retrieval for testing. The council members looked at each other. Glowing? During bonding? That should not be possible. Send a scout. Bring her back. Quietly. Nira had no idea that others were watching her now, and Jacob had no idea that by choosing her, he had broken a quiet rule that no one dared speak. Back on the Raven, Jacob prepared 2 mugs of earth tea. He placed one in front of her and said, "To new beginnings." Nira looked at the mug, then at him. She reached forward, touched the cup, and then touched his hand gently. "Thank you for not seeing me as broken." He smiled. "You were never broken, just unseen." Her chest glowed again, this time brighter than ever before. And far away in a dark room, the alien council watched the glow through a secret satellite feed and trembled. First night on Earthship, Raven Nira had slept in many places, cold cages, metal rooms, transport crates, but never in a real bed. The bed in Jacob's ship wasn't large or fancy. The mattress was thin, the pillow a little flat, and the blanket smelled faintly of engine oil. But to Nira, it felt like heaven. Still, she couldn't sleep. She lay curled up, staring at the dim ceiling lights of the Raven, hearing the low hum of the engine. It wasn't scary, just strange. A home without fear. A man who didn't push her away. Was it real, or just a trick? Outside her small room, Jacob was tinkering in the workshop bay. Sparks flew as he fixed a broken drone. Soft music from an old Earth device played in the background. He didn't know she was awake, and she didn't know why her chest was still glowing. Suddenly the lights flickered. A loud beep rang across the ship. Nira jumped up, startled. The emergency system triggered, just a false alert from a faulty wire, but Nira didn't understand that. She panicked. She opened her door, eyes wide, breathing fast. Her hands shook. She looked left and right as if searching for someone to grab her again. Then she saw him, Jacob, standing calm, wiping oil from his hands. "It's okay," he said softly, walking over. "It's just the power relay. Happens sometimes. You're safe." Her voice trembled. "I thought they came back. I thought I'd be taken again." He didn't laugh. He didn't say she was being silly. He just reached out slowly, carefully, and placed a blanket over her shoulders. "No one's taking you anywhere, not as long as you're on my ship." Jacob walked her back to her small room, but as he turned to leave, she whispered something. "Can I stay near you tonight just for comfort?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Sure. You can sleep in the med bay. It's warmer there." A few minutes later, Nira curled up on a cot inside the med bay. It smelled clean, and old glowing plants from Earth decorated the corners and jars. Jacob sat nearby, fixing a small scanner. She stared at him, eyes heavy with curiosity. "Why do you live alone?" she asked. Jacob looked up. "That's a big question." She tilted her head. "Big questions are okay, right?" He smiled. "Yeah, they are." After a moment, he answered, "I lost my partner during the Martian riots. I stopped trusting people after that, so I left everything behind and just kept flying." Nira's glow dimmed. "I'm sorry. You don't need to be." She looked down. "Sometimes I feel like I was born to be forgotten." Jacob stood up, walked over, and gently knelt beside her. "No one is born to be forgotten." He touched her hand lightly. Her whole chest lit up, and this time, so did her cheeks. That night, she didn't sleep because she was afraid. She slept because for the first time she felt safe. In the early morning, Jacob was already awake, boiling water and preparing 2 mugs. Nira walked out yawning, still wrapped in her blanket like a shell. "Something smells nice." He chuckled. "It's earth tea. Want some?" She nodded, sat across from him and took the cup carefully. She sipped, then blinked. "This is terrible." Jacob burst out laughing. "It grows on you." She tried again, made a face, but didn't stop drinking. As she looked around the ship, she noticed something strange. On one wall was a photo, a picture of Jacob and a smiling woman from Earth. Nira asked, Was that her? He nodded silently. She looks kind. She was. Like you. Her glow shimmered faintly. Do I remind you of her? No, Jacob said. She looked down, but then he added, You don't remind me of anyone. You're just you. And that's enough. Her heart fluttered. She didn't understand the human word for it yet, but her body already did. Later, she explored the ship while Jacob worked. She found a storage room with old earth clothes, soft towels, and a cracked mirror. She stared at her reflection, her ears, her pale eyes, her tiny frame. Then she whispered softly to herself, If he sees something special in me, maybe I can learn to see it too. Meanwhile, far across the stars, a small alien scout ship activated. Destination, Earthship Raven. Target, Subject Nira 35. Orders, capture quietly. Do not harm the human unless necessary. They were coming, and Nira had no idea. But the night before, in Jacob's warm ship, under Earth-made blankets and next to strange human tea, she had felt something rare. Hope, and that was only the beginning. They tried to take her back. Nira was planting a small glowing seed in a jar when the ship alarm blinked red. She froze. It wasn't the usual engine beep. This one was sharper, faster, a warning. Jacob came rushing from the cockpit, face serious. Unknown ship approaching fast. No call sign, no clearance. Nira's hands began to tremble. What does that mean? Jacob checked the radar. Someone found us. The Earthship Raven was hidden near a quiet moon for maintenance, not near any trade routes. No one was supposed to know they were there, but the small gray ship outside had already locked onto their coordinates. And it wasn't a pirate. It was Veltharan, Nira's people. Inside the enemy ship, 2 alien agents in dark armor reviewed the files. Subject Nira 35 is glowing unnaturally, one said. The human's touch activated an unknown reaction. We need to collect her. What if she resists? Then tranquilize. The human too, if needed. They loaded their weapons. Back on the Raven, Jacob didn't waste time. He grabbed Nira's hand and pulled her toward a hidden wall panel. He pressed a button. The wall slid open to reveal a false maintenance room, a secret hideout. Get in, he said quickly. Nira looked at him with wide eyes. You're not coming? He shook his head. I need to delay them. You hide. No matter what happens, do not come out. She tried to argue, but he gently placed his hand over her heart. This light inside you, it's something they never appreciated. But I do, and I'm not letting them take it away. He shut the door. Nira was alone in the dark again, but this time she wasn't weak. She was angry. Moments later, the alien ship clamped onto the Raven and 2 agents entered through a sealed airlock. They scanned the rooms, moving fast. Jacob stood, in the hallway, arms crossed, completely unarmed. You're trespassing, he said coldly. One of the agents stepped forward. We're here for the girl. She doesn't belong with you. Jacob chuckled. That's funny, because she told me you never made her feel like she belonged anywhere. The other agent raised his weapon. Move. But Jacob didn't move. He slowly reached behind him and tossed a flash grenade. Boom. Bright light, smoke, screaming. The agents stumbled back, their scanners glitching. Jacob ran into the next room, dodging stun blasts, leading them away from Nira. Inside the hidden chamber, Nira heard everything. Her body was shaking, but not from fear, from fury. They had come to take her again. They would hurt Jacob if they had to. She looked down at her hands and saw them faintly glowing, not with warmth but with power. Something inside her was changing. Jacob ducked behind a storage crate, breathing hard. The agents moved closer. Human, you don't understand what she is. I don't care what you think she is, Jacob growled. I know who she is. Suddenly, the ceiling vent popped open. A small figure dropped down behind the agents, glowing bright blue. It was Nira. One of the agents turned, startled. Subject, Return to protocol. But Nira stepped forward. I'm not your subject anymore. She lifted her hand, and her glow pulsed outward like a wave. The scanners in their suits exploded. The lights flickered. Their guns shut down, the agents backed away, stunned. What is this power? Jacob stared at her in shock. Nira turned to him and said softly, I told you I was weak. I think I lied. The agents tried to escape, but Jacob activated the ship's gravity disruptor. They fell hard, pinned to the floor. Nira walked up to them and whispered, If you come again, I won't hide next time. Later that night, the enemy ship was gone, sent drifting into space with a damaged engine. Jacob and Nira sat together in the cockpit, still catching their breath. You disobeyed me, he said. She smirked. You'll live. They looked at each other. He finally asked, How did you do that? She looked down at her hands. I don't know, but I think I glow differently around you. Stronger. Jacob reached out and took her hand. Then stay near me. Always. She smiled. I was planning to. Far away on Velthara, the council reviewed the failure. She resisted, and she fought, with a human's help. The highest elder spoke slowly. If she is bonding, she may become something new, something dangerous. They declared her a rogue and marked her for termination. But little did they know, the tiny girl they once threw away now had something they never expected, a reason to fight back. The glowing bond. The ship was quiet now, too quiet. Jacob sat at the edge of the medbay holding a scanner in one hand and a cup of cold tea in the other. Across from him, Nira sat cross-legged on the cot, her hands glowing gently in the dim light. It's not just emotion, she whispered. It's something else. Something changing inside me. Jacob had already guessed that. Every time she touched him, her skin shimmered. Every time she laughed, the ship's sensors picked up a soft pulse. And when she cried, the lights flickered like candle flames. He had seen many strange things during the Martian War, but nothing like this. Jacob turned the scanner toward her chest, where the glow was strongest. The machine beeped, loud and confused. What does it say? She asked. He looked at the screen, then looked at her. It says, You're not what they told you. Outside, the stars passed slowly. The Raven floated near a quiet asteroid field, hidden from long-range scans. But the world wasn't hiding from Nira anymore. She could feel her body was alive with heat, power, connection. Jacob tried to explain it scientifically. Some kind of reaction, like a neural link forming when you're close to someone you trust. But Nira shook her head. No, it's not science, it's soul. That evening they sat together in the control room. Jacob stared at the stars. Nira sat quietly beside him, head resting against his shoulder. She asked, Do humans believe in soul bonds? He smiled. Some do, mostly in old stories. She lifted her hand and placed it over her chest. Then maybe I'm living one. Jacob chuckled, but inside his heart pounded. He didn't want to scare her with the truth, that she wasn't just special, she was becoming something new, and every species in the galaxy would want to control her, or destroy her. That night, she had another dream. In it, she stood in a field of red stars. Her skin glowed brightly and her voice echoed through the sky. Behind her stood Jacob. He wasn't talking, just watching her like she was the most important thing in the universe. The next morning, she woke up to something unexpected. Soft vibration in her bones, she stepped into the hallway. The ship's lights followed her without needing a switch. Jacob stared from the engine room. Did you do that? She nodded, shocked. I didn't even try. They ran tests, basic ones. She could sense movement in the walls. She could power up dead circuits with a simple touch. And when Jacob smiled at her, she glowed like a sunrise. It's not just emotions anymore, he said. It's energy. She looked down at her hands. I was supposed to be weak, she whispered. I was supposed to be nothing. Jacob stepped closer, took her hand gently and said, Then the galaxy made a mistake. News of the failed capture had already spread. Across alien networks, rumors started. The rejected girl is still alive. She's glowing. The human has bonded with her. She might be a hybrid. The Council of Velthara watched from their towers. Her light is growing, one elder said. This is no longer a small mistake, this is a threat. They activated a bounty, 10,000 credits for her capture. Double if the human is alive, triple if he is dead. Back on the Raven, Jacob and Nira didn't know about the price on their heads. They were busy fixing the ship's wing panel together. Jacob handed her a tool. Hold that steady. She did. The panel hummed as her fingers touched it, and instantly charged up. Jacob blinked. You're becoming my ship's power core, she laughed. Maybe I should start charging you rent. He laughed too, but then turned serious. Nira, if anyone comes again, you don't have to protect me. I'll protect you. But she shook, her head firmly. No, this bond, it's not just mine. It's ours. And I'm done being afraid. She leaned in and touched his forehead with hers, a gesture from her species once meant only for mates. Her glow surrounded them both. Warmth, peace, and something more. The ship lights flickered, the engines hummed. The Raven, old, rusty, forgotten, shined, like a beacon in space. Jacob pulled back slightly. Whatever this is, Nira, it's going to get us into a lot of trouble. She smiled. Good. I've never caused trouble before. Far away, bounty hunters were already preparing their ships, their scanners locked onto a soft glowing pulse coming from a quiet corner of space. The girl was still alive, but what they didn't know was that she wasn't just glowing anymore. She was awakening, and her bond with the human, it was unstoppable. The day she defended him. The silence before the attack was strange. Jacob was walking back to the Raven from a nearby supply dock. Nira stayed on the ship, learning how to connect the control wires to her growing energy. He didn't expect trouble. Not here. Not now. But trouble had already arrived, and it didn't knock. They were mercenaries, paid hunters, 3 of them. No names. No questions. Just coordinates and a reward. They landed quietly behind Jacob, cloaked in desert wind and dust. Target identified. Human male. Solo. Easy pickup. But they were wrong. This human wasn't alone. Inside the ship, Nira felt a pulse. Not from the ship systems, not from the stars. From Jacob. Her glow flickered, then grew hot. Something's wrong, she whispered. She didn't wait. She ran. Jacob was halfway across the red plateau when he heard it, the sharp click of a weapon charging behind him. He turned slowly, hands raised. Let me guess, he said. This is about her. The lead mercenary nodded. You're harboring something valuable. She's not a thing, Jacob growled. She's a person. We don't care. Step aside or be removed. They raised their weapons. Jacob didn't flinch. Then, a flash of blue light streaked across the rocks. A shockwave hit the mercenaries, knocking them back. And in the middle of the storm stood Nira, eyes glowing bright like twin stars. Touch him, she said, and I'll burn this planet. Jacob blinked. Nira, what are you doing? But she didn't hear him, or maybe she did, but didn't care. Her feet hovered slightly above the ground. Sparks danced along her arms. I was thrown away, I was forgotten, but he didn't leave me, so now I won't leave him. The mercenaries fired. Too late. Her light surged like a living wall, catching the blast midair and sending it back, 3 times stronger. Boom! The shockwave echoed across the rocks. The mercs screamed, scrambling to escape. One tried to aim again. Nira flicked her fingers and his weapon melted in his hands. The other ran, but the last one, bleeding, scared, looked at her and whispered, "What are you?" She stared at him, her voice calm. "A mistake your galaxy didn't see coming. They didn't try again. No one dared." Back on the Raven, Jacob gently checked her arms. "You're hurt." "I'm fine," she said, but her body trembled from using too much energy. "You shouldn't have done that," he said softly. Nira looked down. "Should I have let them take you instead?" He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled her into his arms, held her tight. And for the first time, he glowed too, just for a moment. A golden flicker passed from her to him. Their bond had changed. It wasn't just one-sided anymore. Later that night, Nira sat at the window of the ship, watching the stars. "Did I scare you?" she asked without turning around. Jacob came up behind her and sat beside her. "Not exactly." "Then what?" "You reminded me," he said slowly, "why humans are scared of losing what they love." She tilted her head. "You love me?" Jacob hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." Nira didn't glow this time. She just smiled, because she already knew. Across the galaxy, the mercenaries' footage was leaked. Dozens of alien networks played the same, clip over and over. A tiny alien girl standing in front of a human, glowing like a living storm, saying, "Touch him and I'll burn this planet." The galaxy reacted with shock. Is she a weapon? Is this a new hybrid species? Did the human create her? The Veltharan Council went silent, then issued a single order. She must be eliminated before others begin to believe in her. But it was too late. Some already did. Some whispered her name like a myth, a symbol, a light, a girl who had been rejected by all, but stood between death and the only being who ever chose her, and won. She was never meant to be loved. But he did. The galaxy now knew her name. Nira. Once a forgotten girl in a glass cage. Once rejected by every male of her kind. Now feared, wanted, hunted. But she didn't care. She sat beside the man who had changed everything. Not a warrior. Not a prince. Just a human with oil-stained hands and quiet eyes. And he had chosen her. Not for power. Not for glory. But simply because he saw her. Outside, warning signals buzzed. A council destroyer was closing in. Larger than 10 Earthships combined. Armed, with plasma torpedoes and genetic stun bombs, designed to capture Nira alive and kill anything that stood in the way. Jacob watched from the cockpit, jaw tight. They're serious this time. Nira stood behind him, calm, glowing gently. "I know," she said. "They want to erase me. They want to pretend I never mattered." He looked at her. "You do matter. To me." She smiled. "Then that's enough." They could have run. They could have begged for help. But instead, Jacob made a different choice. He pressed the comm button and opened a channel to the council ship. "This is Earthship Raven. I'm not hiding. If you want her, come talk to us face to face." There was a long silence, then a reply. "You are protecting a genetic error. Step aside, human. This is your only warning." Nira leaned forward, her voice calm but strong. "I'm not an error. I'm evolution. And I'm not hiding anymore." They didn't wait. The council sent boarding parties. Black ships swarmed like flies. Jacob loaded the ship's defense grid. "We can hold them off, maybe." But Nira placed a glowing hand on the console. No need. She stepped into the docking bay. The doors hissed open. The first wave of soldiers pointed their weapons at her. "Stand down, Subject Nira 35. She took one step forward, did not blink, did not flinch. "My name is not a number," she said, "and you're not welcome here." She raised her arms. The room filled with light, soft, warm, alive. The soldiers' helmets began to melt. Their weapons flickered and shut down. But she didn't hurt them, she freed them. Back on the command bridge, the council elders stared in disbelief. She's controlling energy, thought, emotion, without implants. She's forming attachments. Then it's true. The human completed the bond. Panic. Real panic. She's not just glowing, she's rewriting biology. But on the Raven, there was peace. The enemy ships drifted. The soldiers, once brainwashed by orders, began to step back. Some even dropped their gear. Nira returned to Jacob's side, her glow now soft and golden. He looked at her, awestruck. "How did you do that?" She smiled faintly. "I didn't fight them. I showed them what it felt like. To be seen." The war that never started ended that day. No more bounty. No more hunting. Because even the stars had seen what she truly was. Not a weapon. Not a curse. But a girl who was never meant to be loved. And yet somehow, deeply was. Weeks passed. The Raven floated near a lush green moon. Peaceful. Quiet. Jacob planted earth flowers in the soil. Nira sat beside him, holding a glowing sprout in her hands. "Do you think I'll stay like this?" she asked. He shrugged. "I don't know. But even if the glow fades, I'll still be here." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "I used to think I was born broken. But now I think I was just waiting for someone strong enough to see me." He touched her cheek. "You weren't broken, Nira. You were just waiting for the right place to bloom." Far away, stories spread. A human who bonded with a rejected alien. A girl who glowed with power but never used it for hate. Some believed it, some didn't. But those who had seen her light would never forget it. And on a quiet ship named Raven, two souls sat side by side, no longer alone, no longer afraid, finally whole.